What if you had the resources you needed for your mental health right at your fingertips? Imagine a world where our mental well-being is prioritized just like our physical health, and where we have access to the tools and support we need. That's exactly what the Make Mental Health Matter show is all about. Join Kelly Melissa Reinhart, a true warrior for mental health, founder of Make Mental Health Matter nonprofit, author, and wellness coach. This show is your gateway to breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health. Tune in for enlightening conversations, expert insights, and empowering stories that will not only increase awareness, but also provide education about mental health. It's time to have those hard conversations, prioritize your well-being, and make your mental health matter. Your mental wellness journey starts here.
Welcome to another episode of the Make Mental Health Matter show. I am your host, Kelly Melissa Reinhart. And with every week, I feel like that's just my intro, that I'm excited to be here. Today, I'm going to be talking about Pride Month. It is the month of June. Right now, if you are not aware, that in the United States, at least, I know that this show goes global. But in the month of June, in America, it is Pride Month. And if you're not, I got a little itchy in my throat today. If you're not familiar, see if I can get that out. If you're not familiar with Pride Month, I'm going to talk about it, make you a little bit more familiar. So, um, we get a whole month of June to really bring awareness to the LGBTQAI plus. Everything's AI nowadays. LGBTQIA plus community. And I know, okay, there's like a lot of things going through my brain of how I want to talk about this specifically, but I'll share a little bit of background about myself and why it matters to me the most. As I've talked about in the past, I was born and raised Mormon. I grew up in Utah. I went to church until I was about 12 years old. We moved to Colorado when I was 7 years old. Was a whole different culture that I have talked about, I think actually just on the last episode or the last episode. I don't know. They all mesh together now. But ultimately, so my mom is a lesbian and she came out when I was 5 years old. I was so young. I have no idea. Like, I didn't know what it meant. My mom's my mom, right? That's all that mattered to me. And so for me, it was just something that I grew up with. And I knew that the dynamic in our household was different. But I also have my family that was in Utah. And this is something I don't think I've talked about this. I don't know why I haven't. And maybe it's just because there is still some of that, like, um it's not shame at all, but it's caution, maybe is the right word that I'm trying to think of, but um precaution, but it's part of my story, and so it's kind of hard not to talk about it. But I also, out of respect for my family, it's like genuinely a part of why I'm so passionate and why this month does mean so much to me. So I don't know why I haven't ever talked about this, but um it definitely was a dynamic within our household that I was aware of. I just didn't maybe process, or maybe I did, because my whole family in Utah, right? Very Mormon, very religious, very I'm going to say it, very judgy, and not it wasn't really accepted in the Mormon culture back in the day. Supposedly now they do, I don't know. Anyways, Um, so it was part of how I grew up, and I did have times that I told even my family in Utah that my mom had a roommate and that they just happened to sleep in the same room in separate beds. Like that was a story that I told for so long. And then, I mean, my mom was my teacher from third to fifth grade. She was my music teacher in my elementary school. And that was back in the 80s when you don't talk about it at all whatsoever, right? You just don't talk about it. And so there was a lot that we couldn't talk about, that we couldn't acknowledge. And I mean, even still today in the climate that we're at, I still get a little, like I'm saying, like I get that feeling of being weary about what I talk about. But I am surrounded by incredible humans that tell their story every single day, and they own the fact that whether they're lesbian or they're transgender or they're gay or they are queer. I know queer is the word that is used a lot more now. And I still have a challenge, I guess, when I talk about these with certain people. And I don't want people to feel that way, right? I genuinely believe that love is love, and whoever you want to love is your for you. Like it's for you to be whoever you are. And I don't know if that was always my stance. Again, I was so young when my mom came out that I didn't really care. I know that it was a little bit harder for my sisters as they grew up, but they were also like my middle sister was 11, or excuse me, my middle sister Carrie, she was 7 years older than me. My oldest sister, she's 11 years older than me. And so for me, like being 5 years old, I just, it didn't really make a difference to me other than I still knew that I had my whole dad's side that was religious and Mormon. And I have two sisters on that side, which they're both still very religious, but not, not nearly. If you watch this, Kristen, either of my sisters on my dad's side, they're not as judgy as they used to be. Sorry. But still religious. And we've had some really great conversations about things that I never imagined that we would have conversations about. So, um, anyways, that's a whole different side note. But I think as I grew up, and a lot of my friends knew my mom again because she was my teacher, and we just couldn't talk about it. Well, it came out when I was in seventh grade, so I ended up going to sixth grade at a different middle school, which I've also talked about. And then in seventh grade, I actually went to the middle school that I was supposed to go into based off of my elementary. And that year, so sixth grade was really, really hard. I didn't know anybody at that school other than my best friend that I followed, that I felt like she turned her back on me that year. And I just had a lot of mean girls, and I didn't feel like I fit in. Shifting into seventh grade, I went back to all the people that I knew. And actually, I found that one of my best friends that I still talk to today, we're not as close as we used to be, but she was that one person that opened her arms to me and was like, everybody was just so loving. And that was where I was meant to be, right? With my friends in this middle school. It was the one that we all funneled into. And that best friend actually did not go to elementary school with us. So it was a new best friend, but continued to be my friend throughout middle school and high school, although we kind of were in different groups. So seventh grade, it came out, and I thought all of my friends were going to disown me. Like, I genuinely had this fear that all of my friends would hate me or they would disown me. And just because of who my mom chooses to love. And so I. I also like didn't want her to get in trouble with a school. And so there was a lot of emotions, and it wasn't even a big deal. Like my friends were like, "So who cares?" Like, and then some of them were like, "Oh, we already knew." And I'm like, "Well, that was very that was not what I was assuming." And I built up this big story in my head that nobody would like me and everybody would hate my family and blah, right? It was going to be this giant thing, and it wasn't. Like most of my friends were like, okay. I mean, yeah, seventh graders are like, okay. Nobody really cares. We're all trying to figure out like who we are at that point anyways. And I mean, that's when you really get into like, well, I mean, it starts years earlier, but really when you're like getting into liking boys or girls, or you're starting to like whomever it is, right? And so we're all trying to figure out ourselves. And so when it came out, people were like, I don't care. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. I didn't lose any of my friends. I didn't, it was one thing and went on, right? And then fast forward, I mean, as I continued in school, again, it wasn't really a big thing. And then we shift into the 20th century, right? Now people are, I mean, we still have that like, climate, I guess, of the political world. I don't want to go political, but it's like women's rights. We fought and fought, and not me because I was not alive then, but women, former women, fought and fought and fought and fought for women's rights to be able to vote, to be able to make money like men do, being able to not just be the caretaker or the homemaker, really be a part of society and community. And it was a big fight, right? And it gives me chills when I think about it because it's such a integral piece of history that I don't know we talk about it enough. And then getting the right to all of these things. And luckily, like we now get to be in that space, right? Like we don't have to fight as much, although the last couple of years have been like, what are we doing? Or why are we going backwards? The same thing. LGBTQIA plus community fought and fought and fought, adding one first, more letters. So it used to just be LGBT, well, LGB, so lesbian, gay. Then you have transgender, LGB, uh, bisexual. Did I say that right? I should look these because I'm gonna get them wrong, and I don't want to offend anybody. Um, by gender. Oh my gosh, why my brain? I swear, premenopause brain sucks because I can't remember anything. Okay, so that I don't say this right or say this wrong. Sorry. LBGTQIA. Oh, there's an S. Now. So let me see what that is. So there's a 2S. See, there's more that have been added. And so I need to even educate myself. So lesbian, gay, bisexual. Is that what I said? No, I said a different word. Bisexual, transgender, intersex, queer or questioning, curious. So C is curious. A is asexual. P is pansexual. G is gender non-conforming. So there's two G's now. So there's a two, just a number two. But gender non-conforming, gender fluid. F is non-binary. N, F is non-binary. And but there's an N that is also non-binary. B, bisexual, bigender, or both. A is agender, uh, androgynous. Sorry, totally said that wrong. My brain is not computing on what that word is. So there are multiple letters that have been, so LGBTQIA number 2 S plus is the newest acronym that is being utilized for the community. I also have had somebody on this program that is lesbian, and we've talked about all the acronyms, and they are like, they don't get it either, why we're adding so many. Anyways, that is totally up to you. That is how you identify. And we've talked a lot about gender and identification, and how I always, in my brain, the phrase that comes up is you do you, boo. However whomever you want to love, how you want to love them, what you identify it with is totally up to you. That's not for me to give you a label. It is not for us as humans to give other people labels. And it's not for us to tell people who they can and they can't love. So, I mean, there were so many like women's rights. Then we have LGBTQ rights, being able to marry, and so having queer marriages. That was another right that was fought for so long, and finally it became legal. And then all of a sudden, just like women's rights, everything's trying to be changed and be taken away. And it's like you can't give and then take away just because. I'm gonna go here for a minute and don't I don't know, I guess the right people will be offended, or maybe the wrong people. Um just because you are a white male figure that feels like they have power to be able to take away rights does not give you the right to take away rights. And yes, I went there because, and I said it, I hope, in a halfway friendly way, but I also believe that it is a community, is it a population? It is we, the people that are a part of this nation, to be able to decide, not those that are in the powerful positions to be able to decide, right? So, anyways, I'm gonna leave that here just for a minute because I have to go to my quick first sponsored break. But once I get back, I don't even know if I finished my whole story, but we'll go back to that. So we'll be right back after this quick sponsored break.
What if you could transform your mental health journey with just one question? Have you ever wondered what it would be like to prioritize your mental well-being like never before? Well, now's your chance. Introducing Make Mental Health Matter, the show that's changing the conversation about mental wellness. Join us every Monday on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern Time as we delve into insightful discussions, expert advice, and inspiring stories. Hosted by Kelly Melissa Reinhart, a warrior for mental health. This show is your guide to breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health and discovering valuable resources to enhance your well-being. So, are you ready to take charge of your mental health journey? Tune in and let's make mental health matter together.
Have you ever felt completely alone?
Like your life doesn't matter.
One person dies due to suicide every 40 seconds.
You are not alone. Call the National Suicide Lifeline at 988.
Hope and recovery is possible.
1 in 8 people globally live with a mental disorder.
That's why empowering minds saves lives.
We need your help.
With only $19 a month, you help us save lives through mental health and suicide prevention education.
Scan the QR code or go to makementalhealthmatter.org to sign up as a warrior for mental health today.
And like that, I'm back. If you happen to be just joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for tuning in. You get me today only. I probably need to get some more guests for the show. So if you know anybody that would be a good guest, send them my way. If there's anything specifically that you want me to talk about or a guest that you want us to talk about, send it my way. You can actually go to mmhm.org/show and you can, let's see, do I have that even in here? I have some, yep, we'll go with this one. Oh, no, it's this one. All right. So the mmhm.org/show. Those of you that are listening, it's marymaryharrymary.org/show, SHOW. But you can, if you have a guest, you can check out all the places that this goes out to, whether you are watching or listening. Again, it's E360 TV, Dream Vision 7 Radio, YouTube, Facebook page. We have a Make Mental Health Matter Facebook page that goes live on. And then it goes out to like 60 something other channels. So I still haven't put it on the podcast platforms. I'm getting there. I think I got a new platform that I'm going to start using. We'll see. But anyways, let me know if you have some guests that you want me to talk about. But today I'm talking about Pride Month. No matter what your stance is or what your belief, I don't know if it's a stance. I don't like that word, but some people stand pretty hard in their beliefs because they believe that their belief is the only way and the only thing that matters. And if you believe that, great. That's for you to decide. Whatever your belief is, I also believe that we as humans are and can be super judgy. We also have a fear around things that we don't know and we don't understand. So my belief is that some people that are say homophobic, they just don't, so it's a fear of, right? Phobic is a fear of. They don't understand, and therefore it creates a fear within them based off of maybe it is a belief that came from their parents, maybe it is a belief that came from their religion, maybe it is a belief that they have created because they've had maybe a negative experience with people, place, things, whatever it is, right? We create these beliefs in our unconscious mind that ultimately run us. And sometimes people take a really hard stance, especially with the LGBTQ community. I'm going to utilize the term LGBTQIA plus because I haven't gone down all the other ones. So I believe that the reason why people take such a hard stance and they believe that their message is the right message and they feel like, so I'm going towards picketers, protesters, picketers are the, like when you're an employee and you picket against anyways, protesters, they believe that their way is the right way. And I will say, if that is your belief, great. Again, it comes back into my brain of like, you do you, boo. But when it starts to cross the line that we now have violent happenings or events, or that communities don't feel safe to be just who they are, that's when I take a hard stance and I'm like, that's not okay. There are many groups of demographics, of nationalities, of religion, of right, we have all these different groups that have beliefs that they are maybe better than others, or that their lives matter more than other people, right? We're all human. We're all humans. We're all individuals. We don't choose how we come into or onto this planet, right? We're born into being a human. So why can't we just treat other humans with respect, be non-judgmental, and try to see the viewpoint of other people, their situation, and not try to break it down? Like, why does it always have to turn into a political thing? Like, that's what frustrates me the most. But going back to my story, it's been something that I've never been ashamed of. Well, maybe there was a time, just because I knew being born and raised as Mormon, it wasn't accepted. And so I hid it. And that was what I thought was appropriate at the time. It also still is not something that I like flash around, or like, I'm like, I, in my brain, I was like, there's a card. There's not a card. You don't carry cards. But I think all humans have the right to be with who they want to be and love who they want to love. And that's not for me to decide. And I hope that if you watch or listen to this, that you would take a lot of that stance too, is that it's not for you to decide. And you may have a belief against it, and that's okay. Whatever you believe is your belief, and you you do you, boo. But I also think that it is amazing when you can open up your mindset, when you can step into more of a growth mindset versus a closed off mindset, because the world is not just black and white. The world is not just a colorful rainbow. The world has so much brilliance in it that when we don't open up our eyes to the possibility, there is so much that we're missing, right? And there is a time that we can set aside our own beliefs and we can honor the human that's standing in front of us, no matter what they choose, who they choose to love. And we can all be a part of this planet that we live on, no matter where we live, no matter what we're doing in life. So, um, I think that there's a lot that is said, especially when we talk about protesters, because you also have to consider like the kids that this is their reality. This is what their life has been. And it's not that they chose to be a part of this, but that's the thing I think that makes my heart hurt the most. And I love, there is an organization within Colorado, the Parasol, I probably said that wrong, Parasol Patrol, and they take umbrellas and they go and stand in between the protesters and the children or whomever they're protecting. And I just think it is an amazing moment, an amazing sight to have people protect, because what is said is very hurtful. And when you're a child, when you're hearing these things, it can be really, really hard, right? When you're hearing that your mom or your dad or your whomever that might be, right? Your sister, your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your aunt, your family member is doing something wrong in their eyes, not our eyes, but their eyes. As a child, it sinks in and you're like, what did I do? Why am I being targeted? Why are people saying mean things to me? Why are people saying mean things to my family member? Right? Like, they don't choose to have hurtful things said to them. So I love the idea of the parasol patrol and the umbrellas and standing in between them. It's a shield. It's like a shield of honor that they're protecting the humans that just want to be the human that they are. I think when I really started tapping into, like, so gender neutral bathrooms now are popping up. Like, why didn't we ever think of that? I mean, most gender neutral bathrooms are like individual stalls, but how much more sense does that make? And I know, okay, this just popped in my head. But I do know, and it's been said before, but boys, I am sorry, but sometimes you have really horrible aim, and therefore it gets really dirty in the boys' bathroom. Um, so some women don't like to go into, or female, I should do male, female, an actual biological parts, but women don't like to go into the male when there's pee all over the toilet. Come on, pick up the pick up the seat. But there's also female uh, gender that they hover, and sometimes they pee on the seat too. Come on, wipe your pee off the seat. I just thought of bathrooms. Bathrooms popped into my head, but gender neutral bathrooms. It's brilliant. Like, there's a giant line for the the women's bathroom, but the men's, they're just going in and out and in and out because they're so fast. So why not create gender neutral bathrooms? And there is a bar actually in Denver, Lady Justice, who has a gender neutral full bathroom. So the stalls, it has stalls and then it has a urinal, and it's gender neutral. So both genders can go in there, which I think is pretty cool. I know a lot of people are like, I would never do that. I would never go in there. Okay, that's fine. That's your fear coming out. And that's okay. If that's what you want to believe and that's what you want to decide, that's for you to decide, right? That's not for me to decide. But if I have to go to the bathroom really bad, I'm going to go wherever it is that I need to go. And I want the fastest possible route to that toilet. Right. Okay. Enough talk about bathrooms. I'm like, let's get off the bathrooms. Um, so the community is a very important community. Ally for Life. We, with my nonprofit, have in the past, not up until about 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, we finally participated as a nonprofit in the Denver Pride festival. I hadn't ever been down there to any of the festival. I hadn't the parade. Like, I just giant, large crowds. But a few years ago, we were picked as one of the vendors, and it was like magical, like genuinely magical. And now I understand the rainbow and why. I mean, there's so many colors, right? There's so many variation of colors and people, and the I always think of a magical unicorn, because it's the people are just incredible, and it's great to have a space that they can just be themselves and not have to hide or feel like they have to hide. I don't feel like anybody should have to hide. Um, yeah, just giving space to be who you are. Like, if we genuinely, as humans, just gave everybody space, other than my brain just went to serial killers, I don't want to give space for you. Sorry. But I also think that if we gave space to those humans when they were younger to just be who they were and allow conversations around whatever is going through their brain, they may not have, and this is probably a really bold statement, but they may not have turned into like a serial killer, or they may not have turned into the violent person they are. And I say that because, and it's shown in a lot of the mental health space, is that childhood trauma leads us down paths that we would have never considered, right? When we have so much childhood trauma, we're not getting the love that we crave as humans. Like, we are very connected people as humans, and we need connection, we need love, we need support, we need stability, we need togetherness as humans. And when we don't have those connections, it can lead people down these negative paths, and violence becomes one of those, or fantasy, or um, the act, right? Like, anyways, that's probably a whole different conversation for a different episode. But I believe if we can give space for people to just be who they are, they wouldn't have to suffer. They wouldn't have to hide. They wouldn't have to isolate. They wouldn't have to do hidden things or feel like they have to keep parts of themselves to themselves. So I think it could change the world, like legit change everything. I'm going to talk about something that I think is important as we look into the future as related to this, but I have to go to my last quick sponsor break. So I'll be right back after the sponsor break.
1,917 people die daily from suicide globally.
I lost my middle sister, Carrie, to a completed suicide on February 20th, 2017.
How does Kelly, host of the Make Mental Health Matter show, impact lives?
Number 1. Awareness.
My story, all over it, isn't unique. I am a domestic violence survivor and a recovering addict. For 14 years, I was in active addiction. And because of Kelly and the work that she does and the opportunity to have my voice heard, I was able to stay clean and sober and have hit a year. I'm still here. And if it wasn't for Kelly answering my call the day that I thought I was going to take my life.
2. Conversation.
I'm curious, and I know that I've heard a lot in the BIPOC community, it is very hush-hush. It's like one of those things that you don't talk about. Like, you literally feel like it's not a conversation you can have. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
First, shout out to Kelly, because I'm glad that she asked the question. I researched you before I went on your show, and I saw how real and authentic you were. And I just appreciate the question, because it is different and we have to have tough, courageous conversations. So yes, I always say I'm a triple diversity threat. I'm a Black woman with multiple disabilities. Now, I'm not really a threat, but to other people, I may be, because people fear the unknown and what they're uncomfortable with.
Number 3. Education.
Kelly's passionate commitment to mental health awareness is a beautiful thing. It's clear in her social media posts, it's clear in the resources that she puts together, in the activities that she provides, her collaboration with organizations, and the consistent way that she continues to deliver a message, encouraging people to understand that they can share openly and to break the stigma around mental health. Kelly's topics cover children and adults, talk about things that we can do as a community, things that we can do individually. And her website is packed with information and resources and all kinds of contacts that you can use to reach out, whether you're dealing with something yourself or you're looking to help somebody else who is struggling. I encourage you to check it out.
And like that, I'm back. If you happen to be just joining the Make Mental Health Matter show, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching or listening. If you're continuing to watch or listen, thank you so much for staying with me. I know I have a little itchy in my throat today. I know I've been going in so many different directions today, but really I'm talking about Pride, the month of Pride, the LGBTQIA plus community. And I know that there are some more acronyms that that were put in. Also, I did share the list earlier. So if you are not familiar, but Pride is the whole month of June, and we're coming to the end of June. So that's why I thought it was a really good time to be able to talk about Pride and what it means to myself, what it means to my organization, how we really support the community, and how it affects people, like when you have negative beliefs toward certain communities or demographics, or your beliefs you feel like are the only way or the highway. um it doesn't, I feel like it just doesn't work today. And I want to say also, with all of the backlash and things that have been taken away, the rights that have been taken away, and then the rights that are given back. So I'm going to reverse for a moment. So I talked about earlier how our nonprofit, we were a part of Pride. We were there for, well, the last 2 years. Unfortunately, we did not get picked this year as a vendor, which is a bummer, but they had to move to another location because there's a ton of construction happening downtown Denver, which I understand that they can't have as many vendors. It also went down to 1 day versus 2 days. So there's a lot of factors, right? Which I get. It is a bummer though, because I do love to support in that way. But the way that I'm supporting this year is I'm doing the 5K on Saturday with some of my friends. And then I'm doing the Pride Parade on Sunday with, I am part of this group. They're called the Airheads, and it's a bunch of middle-aged women that get dressed up in blow-up costumes and go and dance. And it's so fun. So I'm excited to do it, and I'm excited to participate in alternative ways and be a part of it versus having to work the whole thing. So sorry, those that got picked to have booths. I get to have fun this year, which is fine. But last year, what happened was, and it felt so heartbreaking. 988, National Suicide Lifeline. Crisis and Lifeline. Lifeline Crisis, Crisis and Lifeline. Crisis Lifeline. But 988 in the United States, you can call if you are actively suicidal, and they have people on hand anywhere across the US. You just simply dial 988. Well, there was an option 3. So there's 3 different options. You have your main line, there's a veteran, which is number 2, and then there was a third, which was youth LGBTQ, and that was defunded last year as part of the big beautiful bill and all the bullshit that happened last year. Yes, that's the word that came to my brain. um it was defunded, which I almost every single youth that came to our booth last year, because we are a suicide prevention nonprofit, prevention and intervention. We do prevention and intervention with suicide. And every single youth that came to our booth asked about 988 and what they're supposed to do now and who they're supposed to talk to now. That is so heartbreaking, because it has it was proven that that line actually took more calls than the actual line. Is that right? Did I get that right? I probably didn't get that right, but there was a very high number of calls that went to option number 3. You finally had a place that they felt comfortable, LGBTQ youth. I think just youth in general, right? Like they're not going to be like, oh, well, are you? They didn't ask you for your demographics or your background. But youth in general were able to call that number and they felt supported because they had specific counselors and therapists that were youth based. It wasn't just the adult side or just the general public, right? It was youth based and they were trained. So the Trevor Project is a huge part of that. They took a lot of the calls. There were multiple call centers that were youth specific that were trained to help and support youth in the LGBTQ space. And so every single person is like, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to help? So our message back to everyone is if you're not familiar with the Trevor Project, put their phone number in. So we're trying to direct them. And the other thing is like, 988 is not going away. It just, that sector of it was defunded, which again, I thought that was a bunch of bullshit. However, this year it was chosen, and I'm not going to say what just popped in my head. We're not going there. But this year it was reinstated. Luckily, people came to the realization that it was actually saving youth lives and these rights, these resources are not just a bunch of hooey fooey. They are actually saving lives and they are critical resources that people in our communities need. And it blows my mind that we even had the conversations to defund and the money was actually taken away. When you have a life-saving program, why are we taking funds away from the things that are saving lives? What are we doing? What are we doing, people? Anyways, I could totally do a whole episode of that. And I'm not going to go on my soapbox, but thank you for reinstating. That is huge. So option 3 is back. The youth out there need that resource. Also, there's so many things like abortion rights and all these things, right? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, people? But that's not part of the conversation. I want to get back to the rainbows and the sunshine and the unicorns because that makes me so happy. And I could totally, again, go on a soapbox about all of these things that I feel like are not right. But that's we're here to support. We're here to support, and we are not being judgmental. And how can we do that as a human? How do we be non-judgmental even if we don't agree with other people's beliefs? How do we accept something that we maybe don't believe in ourselves, right? So maybe I am a person who I don't believe that LGBTQ is okay. But I can still accept you. I can still accept you as a human. I can still accept your decision. I can still accept that maybe you're my coworker. I can still accept that you're my neighbor. I can still accept that we're different humans. Those are things that I can accept, right? I don't have to agree. It doesn't mean that just because you agree or you believe or whatever it is, it's not like you're LGBTQ. Like, that's what I just don't understand. Like, it's not like a drink the water thing. Like, I know I always hear the thing of like, uh, when you have a whole bunch of women who are pregnant, they're like, don't drink the water. it doesn't really happen that way, but that's a whole nother conversation too. The same goes with LGBTQ. Like, they're not gonna like rub off on you, they're not gonna touch you, and you're gonna magically turn into a unicorn, right? Like, I it just blows my mind how people think, and I don't agree. And I believe if you finally had a conversation with somebody that you don't agree with, or you don't have the same belief as them, the power of being in a room to see somebody else's point of view could literally change your entire life. It could change the way that you see everything. And there was a commercial that I thought was brilliant. It was Heineken. I think it was Heineken. Yes, I believe it was Heineken. And I saw it on my one of my retreats that I went to with a bunch of business owners, and I love that commercial. They literally took two people that were extreme opposite beliefs, and they put them into a room to figure out or problem solve how to build like a bar or something. It was like they had to strategize to put something together. I can't remember what it was. Maybe I'll find that commercial. But I thought it was brilliant. It was literally so brilliant that Heineken took these two extreme people that they literally, so when they did the interviews before, they showed the people of the interview asking them questions about like the other person, not that person, but their beliefs specifically. And they were like, oh, I would never, I think there was, there was one that was related to, um, gay or queer, and the guy was like, oh no, that's horrible, those people, blah 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 blah, right? They were like anti LGBTQ, and then the person that they put in the room with them was queer, and that person was a more on the extreme of the feminism of like hating men. And so they put the man and this woman in the same room. She was like a male hater, and he was like LGBTQ hater, put them in a room and told them that they had to create this project or whatever it was. So they had to put their heads together. And as they're doing these projects, they start talking to each other, and they're like, so tell me a little bit about you. Tell me a little about you. And then by the end, it gives me kind of chills when I think about it. But by the end of this commercial, they were like, oh, wow, my idea has changed. And then they showed the videos, uh the pre-recorded interviews about that person and their beliefs to the other person. So they played the pre-recorded interviews about this person and their beliefs to the two people in the same room that had just worked together on this project, and they were like having beers at the end. They were like buddies by the end of it. But then when they saw the videos, they were like, oh, that's your belief? Oh, and then they had them have a conversation about their beliefs to each other. And it was beautiful because they learned about the human and not the beliefs first, right? They learned that they could come together as two humans to build this project and do all these things. And then afterwards, then they started talking about like what their beliefs are. And then they were like, you've changed my opinion. Everything that I thought that I believed in, it doesn't matter. Like, you're still the same person that I thought a minute ago, but just based off of this video, it doesn't change who I think you are, right? And I thought that was so beautiful, and it was so strategic. And yeah, I'm gonna have to find that video again because it was so eye-opening. And I think that that's what we have to do as humans, right? Whatever your belief is, and it's not like you're gonna go search around and be like, hey, do you believe in, let's talk. But how about you put yourself into different places that maybe you don't feel comfortable? Stretch out of your comfortable zone and go put yourself into the space that you've never been before. Maybe you attend a pride festival. Maybe you go to a recovery center. So if I like loop it back into mental health, right? Maybe you go and sit with somebody who is experiencing depression. Maybe you go and volunteer at a queer center. Maybe you go and volunteer at wherever it might be, but that is like the opposite. Or maybe you are on the extreme of like LGBTQ is only my community. Maybe you put yourself in a cowboy bar, or I don't know, right? Like, how can we start to bring people together? How can we connect our worlds? How can we just be humans? Pure humans. I'm going to leave you with that thought, and I hope that today's episode was something you took a little couple nuggets out of it that you're going to start to think about as you go out in this thing that we call life. And I hope you also join me back next Monday. I go live every single Monday at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. on Dream Vision 7 Radio, or you can watch on E360 TV at 5 p.m. Mountain Denver time. No matter what, I hope you have an incredible rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.
Thank you for joining today for the Make Mental Health Matter show. We hope you found today's episode insightful and empowering. Remember, your mental health journey doesn't end here. For more resources, support, and information, visit us online at makementalhealthmatter.org. You won't forget to subscribe to our show or follow us on social media to stay connected and continue the conversation, will you? That's right. Together, let's make mental health matter. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.